係求其你話背書咧，去講翻啦生態演替有啲咩嘅特徵咯。所以呢條題目咧考緊我哋嘅係指出及解釋嘅詮釋技能啦。2023年嘅 Paper 1B 第8條呢，我哋又係講生態系統咯。今次呢，我哋就講鯨落啦。咁啊，當一條鯨魚死咗嘅時候啦，佢嘅屍體呢就會沉到落海底。咁呢個鯨魚屍體呢，亦都會支持到一個好獨特嘅群落，就叫做鯨落群落啦。咁下面呢幅圖呢，就顯示咗海洋嘅唔同位置啦，同埋啦呢個鯨魚屍體嘅位置嘅。咁喺個海洋啦，近水面嘅，咁啊有光嘅。但係啦，光度咧亦都會隨住水深下降而減少，越嚟越暗，越嚟越暗嘅。而去到呢一個位置咧，直頭就係沒有光線嘅區域啦。而鯨魚嘅屍體咧就沉到落海底啦。咁啊 Part A1 咧就問翻我哋啦，根據翻生態系統能量流嘅概念，究竟啦喺呢個鯨魚屍體入面儲存住嘅能量嘅終極來源係乜嘢呢？咁其實 Part A1 咧好直白嘅啫，就係問翻食物鏈嘅能量終極來源喺邊度嚟㗎？整個套路啦，自不然就係太陽光啦，就俾生產者經過光合作用就轉化成為化學能，就儲存喺啲食物入面，然後消費者就透過進食生產者就獲得呢一啲化學能 chemical energy 啦。咁所以啦，能量終極來源就係太陽啦。太陽光啦，或者太陽嘅光能啦。咁過往啦，講水之道嘅呢一條呢，其實都係有關於海洋嘅生態系統嘅食物鏈嘅。咁啊，不妨啦，快手睇下片溫下書咯噃。跟住去到 Part A2 呢，就講翻啦。根據呢一幅圖畫，就去解釋下鯨魚屍體對於呢個鯨落群落有咩嘅重要性。嗱，記得翻重要性呢個字，即係講有咩好處啊嘛，係咪？咁呢個題目啦，就係考翻我哋有關於喺呢個海洋嘅唔同區域，究竟個環境因素有啲咩唔同呢？其實就係講緊近水面都仲有光嘅，去到近水底嘅部分就已經係沒有光線的區域啦。咁冇光喎，根據翻頭先 Part A1，喂，又話食物鏈嘅終極能量來源係太陽嘅，即係光能啦。但係喺呢度冇光線嘅喎，咁又如何啊？咁我哋就要問下自己啦。喺呢個海底嘅位置，有冇一啲能夠進行到光合作用嘅生產者，係喺呢一個沒有光線嘅區域製造到嘢食呢？從而俾啲消費者去食佢呢？梗係冇啦。咁所以啦，我哋就諗下，咁如果而家有啲一條現成嘅鯨魚屍體，入面就係儲存住啲化學能，就係啲食物嚟嘅。當佢沉落海底嘅時候，究竟有咩嘅益處啊？講到明佢係鯨落群落啦，咁即係當中係有生物嘅存在啦。咁但係啲生物當中，我哋又冇得依賴一啲能夠做到光合作用嘅生產者去製造食物喎。咁而家一個鯨魚嘅屍體就舐嚟啦。咁啊，由於啦喺海底就冇太陽光啦，咁所以啦，亦都唔會有一啲能夠做到光合作用嘅生產者喺度製造食物喎。所以呢一條鯨魚屍體佢就係好寶貴嘅能量來源、食物來源，去俾呢一啲鯨落群落嘅生物咧去消費佢咯。跟住啦，去到 Part B 咧，佢就講啦，當呢個鯨魚屍體沉到落海底嘅時候啦，原來啦有一啲生物咧係專係餵食呢個鯨魚屍體嘅軟組織嘅，從而咧就做到呢個物質嘅循環。究竟呢款生物擔當住嘅係咩嘅角色呢？咁呢條題目啦，自不然就考翻物質循環啊，會咩嚟嘅呢？通常都係啲微生物啦，係咪？咁既然講緊循環 cycling 啦，我哋就要提翻啦，究竟循環緊啲乜嘢？就係將屍體嘅有機物質轉化成為無機物質，再翻去生態系統當中。咁呢啲生物係咩嚟㗎？咪就係分解者咯。分解者就係將屍體嘅有機物轉化成為無機物，又翻去大自然當中。咁過往啦都有碳循環啦、氮循環啦，同埋分解者嘅邏輯題嘅。咁又係快啲睇下片、溫下書咯噃。跟住去到 Part C 咧，就係數據分析題啦。咁啊，當呢個鯨魚屍體嘅軟組織俾人哋食晒啦 consume 咗之後咧，就有另一組嘅生物咧 就會開始餵食一啲剩餘落嚟嘅嘢食咯。啲嘢食係邊度嚟㗎？喺個骨頭嗰度嚟。哇！食骨頭咁搞笑，佢哋狗嚟㗎？喂，唔係，原來啦，一隻中等體型嘅鯨魚咧，喺佢個骨頭入面係儲存住2000到3000 kg 嘅脂質㗎，係啲脂肪喺度㗎。咁而家下面呢幅圖咧就顯示翻啦，隨住時間過去，呢個鯨絲軟組織被移除之後嘅時間呢，究竟啦各種不同類型嘅物種佢哋嘅豐度，即係佢哋嘅數量啊，會有啲咩嘅變化呢？題目咧就問我哋啦，喂，下面咧有一個表格，就要我哋去完成翻佢，指出翻呢一個圖表咧係點樣顯示咗生態演替嘅特徵。同埋要透過呢個棒形圖一啲資訊咧，去作為一個證據去支持你呢一個嘅特徵嘅。係求其你話背書咧，去講翻啦，生態演替有啲咩嘅特徵咯？你仲要講埋喺呢幅圖我見到呢樣嘢，所以就作為證據去顯示我講嘅呢個特徵係正確嘅，就係咁樣㗎咋。所以呢條題目咧考緊我哋嘅係指出及解釋嘅詮釋技能啦。你可唔可以分析數據之後去歸納得出一個生態演替嘅特徵，再利用數據去支持你嘅答案呢？咁除咗技能之外啦，呢條題目當然係考翻我哋有關於生態演替嘅特徵啦。生態演替咧就係一個生態系統入面嘅群落，佢嗰個物種嘅多元性咧係會持續咁改變，逐漸咁改變，而呢個改變係建基於呢啲生物之間嘅互動啦，同埋生物同環境之間嘅互動嘅。咁我哋就嚟睇一個作答應假啦，咧就4分。咁我哋就講到2個嘅特徵同埋2個嘅證據。咁所以啦，我哋做2次呢個動作咯。首先提出一個生態演替嘅特徵1分，然後利用數據作為你嘅證據咧，去支持你嘅答案又1分，跟住做多一次就係2+2等於4啦。咁我哋就嚟睇睇咯。一開始咧就講下優勢物種嘅概念啦。咁根據翻幅圖咧，我哋就發現啦，原來優勢物種咧係會隨住時間過去咧係會被取代㗎。一開始咧由0到6個月啊，7到12月啊，其實咧都仲係物種 P 咧。都係話事嘅，佢都係多噶，但係啦，去到之後就跌咗咯。然後啦，就去到物種 R 咧，初頭咧佢都唔係最優勢嘅，佢都唔係最多嘅。但係啦，慢慢啦，去到13到18個月啊，19到24、25到36咧，佢就係最多啦。但係之後又跌翻，佢又俾邊個取代啊？就俾 S 所取代啦。S 物種咧喺25到36個月咧，其實佢都仲係屬於好少嘅數量嘅啫。跟住慢慢就增加去到55到60個月咧，佢就係優勢嘅物種啦。優勢嘅物種係咩意思咧？就喺呢個群落入面，佢係能夠施加到一個大啲嘅控制。控制到啲乜嘢啊？就係控制到呢個群落嘅多樣性，即係而家我哋有 PEQRST 5款嘅生物啦，同埋佢哋嘅 composition， 佢哋嘅成分，即係話啦，今日5款生物我當你有齊啦，但係啦，係咪個個都淨係佔咗20% 啊？有冇邊一款嘅生物係佔得零舍多㗎？哇！原來咧而家喺呢個地方我有1000隻生物嘅，原來撞着900隻咧。都係物種 S 嚟㗎，嗱佢咪就係優勢物種咯，係咪？成分咪有唔同咯，所以啦，大家要留意啦 ，diversity 多樣性係講緊啦，你要幾多樣生物？1、2、3、4、5咪5款咯，1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8咁咪8款咯。而去到 composition 成分咧，就頭先我講嘅嘢啦，你有晒5款生物啫，但係唔代表佢哋5款嘅數量係平均分㗎嘛。有一啲咧係零舍多，有啲係零舍少㗎嘛，係咪？然後咧就去到群落嘅結構同埋成分有唔同咯。呢個結構咧其實都等同於書本嘅 diversity 嘅個多樣性嘅。咁喺生態演替當中咧，原來啦佢嗰個群落嘅成分啊、多元性啊或者個結構咧都係會變㗎。咁點樣變化咧？咁其實答案唔淨止呢幾句㗎嚇，佢會就話啦喺0到6個月咧就得 P 同 R 嘅啫，跟住之後咧就有 PQR 啦，然後去到之後咧55到60個月咧，其實你會發現咧阿 P 阿 Q 已經唔見咗㗎啦，得翻 RST 嘅啫，所以咧你要學識由數據當中做歸納。去到19到24個月咧，其實得翻物種 R 出現㗎咋，其餘嗰4款嘢咧我都未見到佢哋嘅。有啲就未出現，有啲就消失咗，係咪啊？咁其實都係意味住隨住時間過去，呢個群落嘅結構同埋成分係會變化嘅。咁去到最後尾咧就頂級群落啦。頂級群落咧，無論你係原生演替定係次生演替咧，其實都會發展到嘅。個重點就係快定係慢嘅啫。 咁咩叫頂級群落呢？就係喺一個時間入面嗰個群落呢，佢個生物嘅多樣性同埋生物嘅數量呢都係最多嘅。咁所以你會發現咧，由49個禮拜開始咧，得3款生物嘅啫，RST 嘅啫。其實7到12個禮拜都有3款啊。點解呢個時段唔係頂級群落啊？睇下個數量未知咯。因為頂級群落唔係淨係睇幾多種嘅物種出現咗，唔係淨係睇多元性，都要睇下數量嘅。仲有第3個原因就係因為頂級群落咧，佢已經係能夠到達咗一個動態平衡嘅狀態，係維持到平衡穩定嘅。但係你望一望7到12個禮拜，係佢有3款嘅物種出現過，但係去到第13個月到第18個月已經係少咗1個物種啦。再過多一段日子，去到19到24個月咧，直頭再少多一款物種，咁你話穩唔穩定啊？平唔平衡啊？絕對唔穩定，絕對唔平衡。所以啦，7到12個月咧都不能夠視之為頂級群落嘅。咁所以綜合咗個概念咧，我哋就發現啦，由49個禮拜去到第60個禮拜咧，物種 RST 咧就維持一個相對上穩定嘅狀態，呢個就係頂級群落啦。好，跟住啦就去到一點出發咯。今次嘅題目咧就問群落啦，然後考我哋2樣嘢，第一就係能量流啦，第二啦就係分解作用咯。先講能量流啦，食物鏈啦，終極食物來源啦，大家過往啦睇咗唔少長題目啊、MC 啊，都係有關於生物鏈嘅。今日不妨快手睇下片溫下書咯。然後啦就係今次題目冇特別問你嘅，就係有關於生產者同埋消費者嘅角色啦。今次問咗你分解者嘅角色啫，係咪？咁啊生產者有咩嘅角色啊？你透過利用光能再將佢轉化成為化學能儲存喺食物入面啦。消費者咧就係透過去食呢個生產者，將呢個能量咧沿住食物鏈咧去傳遞上去啦。咁講得生產者、消費者啦，咁梗係要講下數量塔或者生物量塔啦。咁啊過往都有唔少嘅片嘅，咁啊就溫書咯。呢條題目啦有啲咩嘅變奏咧？咁啊題目就講啦，其實咧喺條鯨魚咧死之前，同埋俾啲分解者咧去消費咗之前咧，其實佢係食啲磷蝦嘅。而啲磷蝦咧就係食呢啲浮游植物嘅。咁你可唔可以透過呢個資訊去畫一個數量塔同埋生物量塔俾我睇啊？咁畫出嚟嘅嗰個金字塔係咪真係下闊上窄，定還是有啲不規則嘅形狀咧？你話俾我聽咯。今次題目咧就有問到分解者嘅角色啦。咁佢又冇問咁多物質循環嘅。咁你有心理準備啦，每一年咧都會問下噶啦，碳循環啦、氮循環啦。然後咧就考翻生態演題，今次佢又唔係走去問你啦，喂，生態演題有咩定義啊？而係要你透過數據去話俾我哋聽，咦，佢點樣顯示到生態演題嘅概念喎？咁所以啦，除咗演題嘅概念要學識下啦，數據分析嘅能力咧都好重要喎。好，今日呢條題目咧仲有多少嘢可以話俾大家聽嘅，就係咧我都預備咗幾個嘅連結咧，去話俾大家聽，鯨落咧有咩咁特別嘅？鯨落啦，落咗深海有咩嘅重要性啊？佢同氣候變化有啲咩嘅關係啊？咁原來鯨落咧係攞嚟減緩氣候危機嘅關鍵喎，因為啦一個鯨魚咧係擁有驚人嘅存碳能力嘅，佢個身體咧原來係可以儲存到33噸嘅二氧化碳。咁一棵樹每年都只係吸到48磅嘅啫。咁諗下，一個係噸，一個係磅，真係一棵樹要吸幾多年先有呢個33噸啊？而呢個自然嘅死亡鯨落咧，就係儲存大量嘅二氧化碳嘅鯨魚遺骸咧，就會沉落海底，長達數百年之久。咁下面都有唔同嘅資料話俾大家聽啦。原來一啲浮游植物咧係可以幫我哋吸到好多嘅二氧化碳啦。而呢個鯨魚屍體又會為呢個生態系統帶嚟啲咩嘅益處？咁唔單止呢一條 link 嘅，仲有其他啦。台灣咧都有類似嘅 link，咁佢又再講多深入少少嘅。咁除咗同一幅圖之外啦，佢又會提及下唔同嘅階段啦。鯨魚屍體落咗個海嘅時候啦，有啲咩生物會食佢啦？佢嘅骨頭原來都有用㗎，就會引嚟其他甲殼類啊、軟體類嘅動物咧，又會去食佢嘅屍體。然後啦，就去到深海綠洲咯。原來啦，佔據咗鯨骨嘅細菌咧，係以鯨骨入面嘅脂類為食物㗎。而呢啲油脂咧就會轉化成海底生態系統十分重要嘅硫化氫啦。咁又有咩嘅用處呢？呢啲課外知識咧，不妨知多少少，因為咧未來嘅出題方向就係出一啲喺書本冇出現過嘅嘢。所以呢啲嘢大家都不妨留意一下啦。咁仲有另一個呢，就係護鯨就係固碳，呢度都有一幅圖呢，非常之好嘅。 咁除咗中文版嘅圖之外咧，亦都有一幅英文版嘅圖，就係鯨魚嘅碳通量同埋氧通量嘅示意圖啦。咁資料咧對於大家去溫生態系統呢一課咧都非常之有用嘅。2023 Paper 1B Question 8 is about the ecosystem and it's about the fall community. So when the whale die, their dead bodies sink to the bottom of the sea, and the whale dead bodies support a unique community known as the fall community. And the diagram shows different regions of the ocean and the location of the whale's dead body. So you can see that the region where light intensity decreases with death. And then we have another region without light. And then the whale body is on the bottom of the ocean floor. And for part A1, with reference to the energy flow in the ecosystem, what is the ultimate source of energy stored inside the whale's dead body? So this question is checking us to recall the ultimate energy source of the food chain. Surely we need to know that in the food chain, we have the sun, and then producer absorb the sunlight energy to convert it into the chemical energy stored in the food. And then the consumer will feed on the producer and get this chemical energy. So ultimate energy source, very straightforward, is the sun, the sunlight, or the light energy from the sun. So you can refer to the question before that. It's about the marine food chain, marine ecosystem for revision. Part 2, with reference to the above diagram, explain the importance of the whale's dead body to the whale fall community on the ocean floor. So in this part, we need to realize that the environmental factor on the ocean floor, the region without light. And the critical question is that, can the photosynthetic producer produce food for consumer in this area? Absolutely not, because there is no light. Even there should not be any photosynthetic producer. And then we need to realize the benefit of the whale's dead body to other organisms in this fall community which live in a region without light. As we know that there should be no producer here, therefore, how can the organism on the bottom of the sea get food, get energy, right? We need to know that no sunlight can reach the sea bottom, so there are no photosynthetic producer down there. Therefore, the dead bodies of the whale should be a very good gift, a present for them. It will become an important source of the energy, chemical energy, or the food for the organisms at the bottom of the sea. And then for part B, what's the role of the organisms that feed on the soft tissues of the whale's dead body in the cycling of the materials? So we need to recall the role of the organisms which are involved in the material cycling. And then we need to recall the concept of the material cycling. It involves the conversion of the organic matters in the dead body into inorganic matters which will return to the ecosystem. So the role of the organism is the decomposer. They decompose the organic matter into inorganic matter for the cycling of the materials. So you can refer to the video before about the carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, and the role of the decomposer. And then for part C is about data analysis. After the soft tissues of the whale dead body have been consumed, another group of the organisms started to feed on the remaining nutrients from the skeleton. For an average-sized whale, it could have 2,000 to 3,000 kg lipase stored inside its skeleton. And this bar chart shows the abundance of different species that feed on the skeleton of the whale over time. So you can see that the time after the removal of the soft tissues from the whale's dead body. So, and then we need to complete the table with the evidence from the bar chart. Support the case of the fall community is an example of the ecological succession. So we need to point out the characteristic of the ecological succession and then use the data as the evidence to support our answer. So for this question, it's checking us the cyanotic skills, state and explain. State the characteristic of the ecological succession and explain with the data. So the second skills is data analysis. And then we also need to recall the features of the ecological succession. The variety of species in a community in an ecosystem changes gradually as a result of the interactions between organisms and the physical environment. So let's take a look at the scaffolding. First of all, we need to point out the characteristic of the ecological succession, 1 mark, and then explain with the relevant data to support our answer, another 1 mark. And then we need to point out 2 characteristics of the ecological succession. So it's why 2 plus 2 is 4. First of all, we can talk about the dominant species is replaced over time. So what is the dominant species? They are the species in a community that exert strong control over the composition and diversity of the community. So what does it mean? So for the diversity, easy to understand. It means that how many types of species is living in this community? Or 5 types, 10 types, 12 types. Is about how many types only. And then the composition, it means that, let's say, there are 5 types, organisms, species in this community. But what about for these 5 types of species, species A, B, C, D, E? So maybe, for example, species A, it consists of around 80% of the population. And then for B, C, D, they only have 5%, let's say. So we can see that the species A should be the dominant species, right? Because they can exert stronger control. They may occupy larger space. They may get more food than others. First of all, species P, it is the dominant species from 0 to 6 months. However, it drops a bit. At the same time, we can see that species R, in the first 6 months, number of species R is not that high. However, the number become bigger and bigger. However, the population size become bigger and bigger and become the dominant species. And later on, starting from 25th month to 36th month, species S, the population size increasing. Population size is increasing. So you need to use the data to explain that why the dominant species is replaced. And then you need to tell me at least 2 types of dominant species to show that, okay, in this period, the species P is the dominant species. Then within this period, species R is the dominant species. And then we need to talk about the composition and the structure of the community changes with time. So it says that species P and R appear first in the month 0 to 6, and then later change to species PQR in month 7 to 12. So actually, you do not have to follow this answer, because for the whole chart, you can refer to other period. So let's say within the 49th to 54th month, we can see the species RST. But before that, in the period of 37th to 42nd month, there were only species R and S. So your answer can still be the answer. No need to follow the model answer. Last characteristic is about the climax community. For the climax community, one thing to remind is that no matter it is the primary succession and the secondary succession, it can still reach the climax community. The point is just talking about sooner or later. So for the climax community, what does it mean? It means that the diversity and the number of the organism means that no matter the diversity and the number of the community, it reaches the highest point and reaches the dynamic equilibrium, dynamic stable status. So you can see that for the climax community, species RST remains stable from month 49 to 60. So you may think that, no, Mr. Leung, there are only 3 types of species, and then you say that they are climax community. What about in this period, 7 to 12 months? There were also 3 types of species. Well, and I say that climax community? No, because you see that there were a lot of changes here. So it means within this period, 7 to 12 months, is it stable enough? No, it's not stable. But for these 2 parts, we can still see that the shape of these three bars are relatively stable. So let's talk about the curriculum mapping. This question is talking about the four community, and it asks us about the energy flow and the decomposition. For the energy flow, it's about the food chain and the ultimate energy source. And for this question, it didn't ask us about the role of the producer and the consumer. So maybe next time it can ask you, so you need to talk about that. Producer captures light energy and convert it into the chemical energy stored in the food. And the consumers transfer energy along the food chain in form of food. And then we also need to talk about the pyramid of number or the pyramid of the biomass. So any possible question variation is given that before the whale is dead and consumed by the decomposers, the whale feed on the grill and the grill feed on the phytoplankton. So can you construct a pyramid of number and a pyramid of biomass of the mentioned food chain? So is it a normal upright pyramid or an inverted irregular shape of the pyramid? Tell me in the comment section. And for the decomposition, surely this question, it did ask you about the role of the decomposer. And the decomposer, surely they are related to the material cycling, nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle. So do revision on these very hot topics. And then the question also asks you about the ecological succession, about the data analysis. So you do not only do revision on the succession, but also about the data analysis. So after this question, I would like to introduce you several links about the four community to extend your knowledge in this question. So although the paragraph is in Chinese, do the translation by using the Google Chrome, and then to know that the importance of the four community, and then what is the importance of the whale, and how is the four community related to the global warming, the climate change. So how about the carbon fixation? A lot. Most of them is the Chinese website, but you can still find the English version of the diagram. So it shows you that how can the carbon stored in the whale's dead body? How is the carbon cycle in the ecosystem? And it also reminds us that the phytoplankton is responsible for every other breath. How can they convert the carbon dioxide and then release the oxygen? Is also a very helpful, useful information for you to do revision of this topic.